Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with a brand new speed build, this time doing something a little bit different for my channel, and that is indeed a Mini Mermaid Palace. Now I'll explain a little bit more about that later, but basically the other day I was doing a bit of building and I decided that I've done a lot of building in Sulani and that it was time to kind of do a little bit of building in a different world. So as I began building, I kind of stopped and thought, actually, there's something that I haven't actually built for island living, and that was a home for a mermaid. Now, I've not actually really kind of done any more gameplay for a while, and so I've not really played around with mermaids very much, but one of my favourite films, Disney films of all time when I was a little girl, was The Little Mermaid. I absolutely adored that film and I couldn't even tell you how many times I've watched it. Now, not only that, but there's a lot going on in the community at the minute with mermaids. There's lots of mermaid making competitions and challenges, and I've seen castles, I've seen little starter homes, and I thought, you know what, it would be really, really nice to kind of build something that was a bit of a fantasy build, something I've not built in a long time. Now, one of my favourite builds, in fact, I think it's probably my favourite build of all time on my channel, is actually a castle that I built many, many moons ago. It's probably like 2 years ago now, and it was called Riverglade Castle, and it was one, I spent so much time on this castle, it was unbelievable, but I really got stuck into this kind of fantasy idea, and I just kind of kept just experimenting and being as creative as I could be, and that's exactly what I wanted to do with this. So I will actually say that it was quite a challenge because, as you'll know if you've been, a subscriber of my channel for a while, a lot of the builds that I do tend to be a little bit more realistic looking. I like to kind of go for real life elements when I do my building, and I always say, you can never get completely kind of lifelike because obviously it is The Sims, but that's predominantly what you find on my channel. So to kind of get out of that mindset and to come up with something that was really based around mermaids and a whole watery kind of theme, and taking into consideration everything that I've known about the Little Mermaid growing up and things like that, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I say this all the time, I do have a lot of fun when I do building. If I didn't have a lot of fun, I certainly wouldn't do it, that's for sure. But yeah, this one was quite the challenge. So initially, I was actually going to start off on a completely different lot and do maybe a big kind of castle. And then I kind of thought, it'd be nice to do something on a bit of a smaller scale. So what I'd say with this particular build is it's a lot smaller than what it looks on the inside, and so much so it's actually only got one bedroom. But the idea for this build, to be honest, was just to be as creative as I could be and to really come up with something that just felt very sort of surreal, and I just had a lot of fun doing it. Now, the interior of this build, I went on to complete, but it was quite the challenge because we don't have spiral staircases, and I would really, really love spiral staircases in this game. It does make it, well, a lot of the turrets that you build kind of redundant, which is such a shame because it'd be really nice to be able to use the turrets that aren't connected to like the main body of the building. But unfortunately, whilst we don't have that, it's a lot of them kind of go unused. But also the way that I placed the turrets meant that there was a lot of turret-sized rooms throughout this build. So there must have been something like, I don't know, 8 or something, which in the end, when I came to do the filming, even though I filmed it all, when I came to kind of edit the video, I thought these rooms are so tiny, it's really quite difficult to sort of see what I'm putting in them. So I decided to leave them all out, but I'll kind of read you a couple of things that I did with the turrets so that you get an idea of what you might find in each one of them. And to be honest, it's probably like pulling a Christmas cracker. Who knows what's behind the door of the next turret you come across? But basically, I decided to do, I think it was 3 bathrooms in 3 of the turrets. And some of them were just downstairs toilets. And one of them, which was upstairs, I managed to fit kind of like a shower room in. There was another one that contained like a chess table. There was another with sort of the smoking pipe thing. I don't know what the official name is, but I managed to fit a couple of chairs around that. And there was a computer room for one, there was a dressing room for one, so I did make really good use of them. But with regards to kind of you guys watching how I did it, it would have just been really kind of difficult to look at, if you know what I mean. So also, as you guys know, when I come to do the exterior of the build, that is really my favourite bit to do. And when I'm normally doing kind of homes, and whether it's a starter home or a bigger home, I always include lots of activities and skill building items. But with this particular build, it was really just about creating something quite pretty, and I don't think it would have, I think it had taken away from it if you could see lots of kind of like, I don't know, planters, and maybe I could have made planters look quite good, but I just wanted to go for something really classy and elegant, so I wasn't going to put flower arranging tables and barbecues and things like that. But that's certainly stuff that you could add in at a later date if you chose to download this, which is also available on the Sims 4 gallery as we speak. So with the interior being as small as it is in this build, I decided to call it a Mini Mermaid Palace. And it's a 1-bed, 3-bathroom build, and it's set on a 40 by 30 lot in Sulani, and it comes in at just less than 242,000 simoleons. So that's a very pricey build for just a 1-bed. But one of the really good things about this particular build was that I got to use a lot of items which I haven't used before, or, you know, kind of colour variations of items that I've never used before. So it was quite a lot of fun. I found that the more and more I was building, the more I was adding to it and the more complex it was growing. And to be honest with you, the biggest problem that I had with this build, or the thing that took me the longest, was trying to figure out what foundation to use, which sounds ridiculous, but in the end I ended up covering up part of the foundation because it was just driving me mad. And I did actually cut quite a lot of that out because I found that I kept going back to the foundations and changing them. But yeah, I was using, like you can see, the kind of ornaments, I think they are. They're like very expensive ornaments, which I blew up and put on top of the turrets. And, you know, I kind of just played around, just really experimenting with lots of different items and just playing around with it and just really trying to come up with something that felt really grand, but at the same time felt kind of as if it belonged near the ocean. So just before I carry on, I just want to apologise if you can hear any parrot noise in the background, because my parrot is actually awake at the minute and she's just kind of chirping in. As I'm talking, she's talking as well, so it probably sounds like I'm recording in the jungle, but I can assure you I'm not. So in the end, I did actually end up using a lot of items from Get Famous, from the windows to the doors, as well as ornaments and things like that. Just anything that kind of gave that sort of elegance to it. I really wanted it to be like a real palace. Okay, well, the parrot's actually won. I've just had to get her out of a cage, so she's kind of quite happy now. But actually, speaking about pets, I noticed in the comments some people had been asking for some updates on my snake. And for those of you that don't know, I actually got a snake, probably I think it was around about last October. And she's doing really, really well. She's definitely a female, because at the time, she's a pink corn snake. It's actually called a snow corn snake, and so she looks kind of like pink, so we decided to call her Rose. And she's actually doing really, really good. She's absolutely huge. She's had a lot of sheds recently, and she's really kind of packing on those pounds, so every time we get her out, she's just so much bigger. And she was just so tiny when we got her, but she's doing really, really well, and she's still very, very placid. I mean, she's kind of the first snake I've ever encountered wanted, and she's the first snake I've ever obviously owned as a result of that. And I've never even heard her hiss or anything like that. She's just so kind of sweet-natured. I think if you can actually give snakes personalities, she's actually really chilled out, so she's doing really, really good. And as for my parrot Mango, she's doing brilliant as well. She's very mischievous, and she's just learnt to kind of wolf whistle, and at first we were really into teaching her how to whistle, and my son in particularly was kind of whistling from his bedroom and just waiting for her to respond. And so now she's learned how to do it, which is great until she whistles it over and over and over again. I mean, I try not to give her attention when she kind of like creates too much noise that, you know, is for because she wants attention. But it's quite amusing at the same time. I think the funniest thing with my parrot is her relationship with my dog. So I've actually got a Chihuahua. She's slightly crossed with a Jack Russell, but she's only very, very tiny, called Lola. And Lola's like nearly 7 years old now, and she's the softest dog. She's just a complete Mardy. And every single time the bird is out and the dog even comes near me to kind of have a little stroke or to come and sit on my knee, the bird kind of comes straight over, and the bird gets really jealous really quickly. So in the vicinity of one another, they kind of get on really well, unless the dog tries to interact with me. And they haven't hurt one another or anything like that. It's just literally she flies over and then the dog's like, I'm out of here. But the dog does have its own ways of kind of getting revenge, and whenever the bird's kind of tucked away safely in a cage, she goes up to the cage, and at the very bottom where all the seeds and nuts and anything that's in her food bowl drops, the dog kind of gets into the bottom of the cage and like eats little bits of her food. Now, I don't know any dog that likes eating nuts, but my dog does, and she only does purely, I'm sure of this, she only does it purely to kind of assert her dominance, but from a safe distance. It's quite amusing. It's funny to watch anyway. But yeah, there's a little update on my pets. They're all doing absolutely great. So just coming back to the build, I'm obviously working on the interior now, and I've just finished doing the kitchen as well as the dining room. And as you'll see, there's lots and lots of turrets spaced all the way around this build that are filled with various different things. So what I decided to include in this particular speed build was really all the main rooms in the house. So this is a really bizarre layout. It's probably the strangest layout I've had in any of the builds that I've done, and it's probably a worse because I literally built it from the outside without really looking at the inside. But it was really fun, and it literally is exactly that. It's just a fun build, a nice fantasy build. And yeah, so for the inside, I literally wanted to keep it very sort of pastel-y kind of colours, lots of whites as well. I use the Get Famous lighting I just think it's really pretty, and it sort of goes with the theme of mermaids. And of course we had to use this kind of like fish tank table, although saying that, I probably shouldn't have used it, because I'm pretty sure if you're a mermaid, you definitely wouldn't own any kind of fish tank. But anyway, let's just forget about that for now. So even though the main idea for this build was just to be as creative and as fun as I could be with mermaids based in mind, I still wanted the interior of this build to be functional. So there is 2 main reception rooms as well as a kitchen and dining room. There's all sorts going on in the turrets, as well as the main master bedroom, and there's lots of activities and skill building items going on in the inside. So there's plenty of stuff for your mermaids to be getting on with. But if you were to download this house, you could always download it unfurnished and furnish it however you like, or just completely redo the floor plan to add more bedrooms in, or extend it. You could do whatever you wanted, but for now this was just like a nice little mini palace. But I'm just finishing off with the master bedroom, which is this one. And again, using lots of items from Get Famous, which are just really very grand and fancy and golden and white and all those lovely things. But I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give me a big thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, it would be amazing to have you on board. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend and you've enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. But thanks for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye!